It's all about time, folks. You may have heard me say that. Oh, it's right behind me. It's about time.
There you go.
The cost of running a business is time. It's not the material.
From Sarah Systems and Billy Go, this is No BS with Billy Stevens and Landon Brewer, the unfiltered, straight-shooting podcast that dives deep into the heart of home service trades to uncover the truth about running your business. You're entering the No BS zone with Billy and Landon.
Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the No BS with Billy and Landon. We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us every week. Today's topic is money leaks in my business. We're going to help you walk through all the places that we lose money and we don't really have good ROIs on and discuss how we can improve those to improve the cash flow in your business. I want to welcome my co-host, Landon Brewer, here. What's your insight and what's your wisdom for the day before we get started?
Man, my insight and wisdom for the day. If we're talking about money leaks, there's always money leaks. There's always money leaks. There's the obvious and the not so obvious money leaks. I think Billy, one of the things we're going to talk about, maybe some of the weird ways that you've caught employees stealing. Is that a good way to jump into this? Weird ways you've caught employees stealing from you?
Yeah, we'll make a whole show on that.
That's a good money leak. Oh, we've got endless stories on stuff like that.
Oh, we do. Watch your catalytic converters. That's all I could say. I don't know how many we lost. And there was a time, like a 3 or 4 month time. I think these guys work in like herds, and they just kind of like hit an area. And then when it gets risky, the cops are starting to pay attention. They move to another one, and then they just keep doing it, and then they eventually make it back, I guess. And we lost a lot of catalytic converters. So what we did is we started taping $100 bills to them just to see what would happen. So they with a note, just take the money. This is all you're going to get for it. Just don't cut it out.
Leave it. Take the cash.
Well, they haven't been back since we put the money on there. So we took the money off, and then nothing happened. So I don't have anything to report on that, but it sounded like fun. But you know what they would have done? They would have taken the 100 and the catalytic converter, but we thought we'd try it, see what happened. All right. Well, speaking of $100, on the average, I would imagine we pay about $100 for a lead in most companies. Everybody should know what that is, but I just use
What is this, 1996? $100. Man, you're efficient at everything.
Well, I mean, there's leads where you pay way more than that, but then there's some where you pay, not very much. And so I don't know. I don't know what the blended average is for the industry. I know my blended average for a lead it's about about $140.
That's a conservative number you could stick with.
Yeah. And so since we're very weak in math, I just figured we use 100, not put any change in it, so we can give them some good answers. Maybe.
We'll
just
there you go. But all your math, make sure you do it at $102.87.
See now,
Use that to divide.
Now I don't even know what to do. So he just froze me up, just like that.
I just blew your entire game plan.
What do I do with the 287? Oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you what I do with the 100. Like I just said, we're probably at $140 a lead, but the leads that we're getting are working. I mean, that's the difference. I mean, if my lead conversion is very good. And we work really hard on figuring out which leads are working that day. Seriously, that day. And then we move money to those out of the ones that aren't working. It's something that we do so that we can keep this cost down. The majority of the year, we will lean on our customer base. We spend a lot of time with our customer base as we build it over the years. We always are keeping them in tune and ready to do business with us. And so we can keep our marketing costs down because of that. But I really highly recommend that you guys out there listening today figure out what your lead cost is if you don't already know it. And if it's over $140 or whatever, I think it's time to do an audit, if you will. I think it's important that you know what you're spending your money on, because it's not cheap and it ain't getting any cheaper. And some of the ways we can drive this down are in these ways we're leaking money into business. And so we'll go through this little list I put together. In fact, I did this on my Saturday post, Facebook and LinkedIn that I do every week. And so I'm just basically doing a live version of what I wrote this past week. So
who's the that occupational therapist that like the sex doctor that every once a week in the newspaper would write an article? Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth. Oh,
You're like the Dr. Ruth of Facebook posts for HVAC. I love it.
I just need to get the accent. The little old lady. So you're saying I'm a little old lady? Is that what? Is this really what this is about?
Is that it's that red hue that you got? It's
I know these lights make me they make me light up pretty red.
Their tanning salon?
Yeah, I'm getting a tan.
You gotta get the real ones in there.
Yeah.
Speaking of this though, as you were talking about this topic, I'm like, whether it's $100 or whatever your lead cost is, I think the overarching theme of this is going to be the number one, leak in your business. The number one cause of the leaks in the business is bad data, lack of data, or bad data altogether.
Yep.
Right? Not knowing what your lead costs are, your conversions, all your KPIs, or not having accurate information. I gotta say, I gotta believe is the number one cause of leaks in the business.
That's exactly right. And the inability to rein in where those leads are coming from. We waste a lot of money of selling to people that are just too far away, and being able to have the data to show that whether or not you're paying for leads that you can't get to that are out of your service area. Because you and I always preach about owning your backyard. Let's focus on owning the backyard and keep our marketing in that backyard and make it more effective, figuring out what really works before we expand out further. So let's pull it back in, concentrate in a smaller area, figure out what's working, and then move out if you want to. But I think what you'll find is if you pull your marketing in, you're going to cut costs, but you're going to get a better density of calls in a smaller area. And that is really all we do. We stay with, right now, my marketing people are directed to not go beyond 10 miles. However, in Sarah, I can tell when I get a call that's 11 miles away because of the way we set it up. And therefore, every month, at the end of the month, if I have 7, or let's just use 10 calls for our easy math that we use. If I have 10 calls that were out of my service area, I literally I say, look, well, you owe me that money because I can actually show you. And I don't have to believe his reports that always show me doing well. And we're like, well, we're doing so great. How come my phone's not ringing? It's up every month. I
don't know if you've got the data or the visibility to see it. I know you got the, geographic radius that you talk about. Because and trust me, I think that's about as brilliant as it gets. I was fortunate to work in a company that did 70% of their revenue within like a less than 10-mile radius as well, and that can be a super profitable venture.
Oh, so
I think
good.
I'm in Southern California and have run a lot of business in Southern California, and the traffic, the congestion, it's pretty crazy. But for some reason, everybody that wants to scale a business just, goes from, Los Angeles down to San Diego with their marketing, and they're getting on, radio stations that have this massive reach, and they're doing some of this stuff to grow large businesses. And it's just not a very profitable way of going about it. You could probably scale it maybe a little bit faster if you get the resources, but here's an interesting data point. Finance companies, I think, look at your vendors for other sources of data that might be valuable to you as well. Right. And I'm sure you get a lot of vendors connected with Sarah, et cetera, that provide you data back and forth. But finance companies, I wrote that down as a note here because, over the years, I've done a number of deals with finance companies of all sorts. And they all talk about the same things. They all have the best approval rates, the best this, the best that. And they're just selling the same product. Right. when I went to negotiate with one a number of years ago, I said, is there anything else different? Is there any data or information you could provide that could make my business success rate higher? Right. And they're like, well, here's some data points. And so I said, show me the data that you have. And I was able to like bit and piece a whole bunch of data together. And they had demographic data on our customers, who the best specific demographics that are being run that are most likely to be approved for financing. They had area code data that would say, hey, you ran this many apps zip code data, this many apps in this zip code, this many in this zip code. Yeah, here's your approval rate in this zip code. So, I mean, you mean to tell me that if I'm sending, let's say, direct mail or putting specific advertising out in a regional area, you can tell me that my likelihood of that zip code, somebody being declined or not. So why waste money marketing to this area? It's got a high decline rate, and look at this, has got 100% approval rate over here. Let's like redirect our marketing spend. I mean, there's really, that's the gold nugget. If you're not talking to your finance company about it, folks, I would start talking to your finance company about the data they can provide to help you grow your business.
Great job there, buddy. I like it when you contribute to the show. This is awesome.
So is there anything you want to talk about today, Billy?
It seems like you're on a roll. I'm just going to let you run with it. Awesome. All right, let's get into paying $25 to book a lead, to spiffs. Landon, how do I feel about spiffs?
Favorite thing. Spiffs.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing.
Spiffs. We should come up with an acronym for what spiffs stand for. But man,
sucky ideals prevent success. There you go.
That. If it were sips, but it's you'll go on a tangent about this one. But to me, it's like there's no greater way, and I understand why people do it and they're tempted to do it, but there's no greater way to long-term kind of derail the objectives of your business and the objectives of your employees.
The consequences are so high.
One-off spiffs.
The spiffs consequences are just so high. It's, oh my gosh, it's the most terrible idea ever in the history of the trades is just paying spiffs to do your job. Well, let's explain it. We can't just leave it there. Why is this a terrible idea? Well, I like my acronym. Sucky ideals prevent success. That's a spiff. Oh, SIP. That's a SIPS.
SIPS.
We'll get there. We'll figure it out. We need a longer show. Maybe we need to add somebody that's smart.
I like that. That. That's a good idea.
I hope these people don't think they were tuning in to two smart guys. All right. Why is $25 spiffs, or whatever you're paying, a bad idea? Well, number one, when the motivation is a spiff over the type of customer, the type of call, the possibility of having the most success for a call, the location of the call, the type of call, the unauthorized customer, you don't know if they're a good customer or not, all these things go out the window because there's only one objective, and that is to get my $25. And then it creates overbooking. Who's keeping up with all that? You don't do the call at all. Or do you have the processes in place to keep up with that so you can take the $25 back? Oh, wait a second. Now we're taking money away from our employees because the call we didn't do it, or they canceled. What kind of message are we sending now when you start deducting money from your employees? No matter what, you don't ever do that, right? But now you're in a situation where you created this problem. And so you try to solve a booking problem with a spiff, and you created all kinds of other problems. Not only that, the cost of doing business went up tremendously, 25%. If you're paying $100 for a lead and you add another $25 to it, folks, that's 25% increase in cost. That's massive. It doesn't sound like a lot. Oh, what's $20? What's $25? What's $10? Who cares? It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add in all the other things and the problems that it creates, it is extremely expensive when you have a spiff program to motivate people. There's a better way to motivate your employees, and it doesn't require extra money. It requires good culture, good processes, and leadership that makes it to where employees feel like they are a part of something. And then when everybody does well and the company does well, give them their money. Give them money. And now at this point, you're giving them money for what reason? For tax liabilities, right? To offset taxes. And so it's a win-win-win. But we're not overbooking because of the money thing. We're booking better calls. Let's focus on what kind of calls we're booking and how many we're booking, not just a free-for-all, trying to get spiffs all day. And I think you'd be a lot happier. That spiffs creates so much chaos in the office. It just creates a ton of chaos and creates other jobs. People got to keep up with it. How much they're going to pay, who they're going to pay. Do we pay for this one? Do we not? I mean, how about let's just get rid of that headache? Any ideas or anything you want to add to that, sir?
Yeah, it's kind of like, similar to, the way that kind of a lot of things in the world work, right? It's instead of getting to the heart of the issue, what you want to accomplish, which is like, let's grow a business, have happy customers, let's increase revenue, let's increase profit. And so you got to do all of these things that are a normal part of your job to get there. Instead of focusing on that, what most people focus on is like, instant gratification of this little nugget is if I book this call, if I sell this widget, if I, move this IAQ product, if I turn this extra lead, or if I get this review, if I do all these things that I should be doing as the regular course of my job, and then it becomes an expectation and you get used to it. And then if you take it away, there's withdrawal. It's kind of like a drug, right? Is. And so it's very similar. It's like instead of addressing underlying health problems in your body, doctors prescribing drugs, your body gets used to the drugs. You got to take more drugs. The drugs cause more problems. And it's very spiffs are drugs.
That's a great analogy, sir.
That's it. How to keep technicians off spiffs. It's like, dare to not, we need to
just say no to spiffs.
Just say no to spiffs. There you go.
It's my Ronald Reagan coming out in me.
Just say no.
All right. I think we made our point with spiffs, so we're more than happy to debate this with anybody if they feel like they don't agree with us. But I think we have the data to prove that what we're talking about, so I can pretty much back this one up. We overbooked the overpriced leads, paying more for spiffs. So we hit on that. So basically, what I'm saying here is what we kind of mentioned a little bit is we're overbooking because the spiffs are the driver of the booking process. I know we're taught to book everything we can book because we're paying for it, but why don't we just do a better job of maintaining the right amount of calls coming in and the best calls possible? That, to me, is how I run my business. I don't want to overbook. I just want the right amount that I can do the maximum amount of revenue with, and then allow my guys to go home at a reasonable time, and then the next day they're going to be at peak performance the whole day. It doesn't pay to continue to overbook and run those guys in the ground. I know that's the way we used to do it, but that is not the right way to do it anymore. If they want to work longer, fine. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep, you're not prepared for the next day. You're just not. And the money's made during the day. And anyway, that's my point of view on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that goes to what we were talking about last week on the, hiring all of these new age, Gen Z tool belt based employees. It's like, they want something different than your grandpa used to want when he went to work every day. It's like, it's not the days of the factory anymore. It's a whole new era.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%. The only caveat is like, well, if you get to know your employees, some of them you want to push late in the night. Like the ones that are big drinkers, you may want to push them later in the evening so they don't have too much time to wake up hurting the next day. But other than that,
start them later, whatever. But just keep them at 100% efficiency, right? So they're not having wrecks because they're so tired, right? Things like that.
There you go.
Or they're not cutting their hands and you lose them for 6 weeks. These are the things that happen when we overbook. And not only that, when we overbook, we lose 10 to 20% of the overbook leads because you told a customer you weren't really sure when you could get there, so they're out searching for someone to show up. And now you paid $100 for that lead. You're paying $25 for that spiff, and you never even went to the call because we overbooked and we couldn't provide a reasonable time frame that made sense for that customer. Now it became, you're my favorite HVAC company to. I don't care who you are, just get here. Now you just killed that customer that you worked so hard to keep. And maybe it wasn't that important of a call, but still, you just ruined that relationship because they don't care about you anymore. They're going to find somebody. And not only that, our close rate is, in this industry, 60 to 70%. So now we're paying $100 for this lead. We're paying $25 for the spiff, and we're only getting money on 6 out of 10 of those leads. So then the process just starts, the hamster wheel going. So if I'm only selling 6 out of 10, that means I need 4 more calls. So I need 14 calls instead of 10 to get 10, right? And so here we go again. And you can't get 100% close rate, but you can get 100% charge rate. Now that's when it works, and that's what we do at Job Time Efficiency. I don't want to say I don't care, but in a way I don't care about my close rate because I care about is my efficiency there. Did I get 100% of what we went out and did? 100% of everyone's time on every call? Did I do that? Did I do 90%? Did I do 80%? Did I do 70%? That's what I want to know. I don't care what we did. When I say I don't care, I do care. But the point is it's not as valuable as knowing, did I get my per minute money? Like Billy Go needs about almost $2 a minute for labor, and I need all those minutes from everyone. Now, I'm talking about not only the techs. If he works an 8-hour day, I need those minutes. I need the installers' minutes. I need the sales guys' minutes, the guys that deliver parts minutes. I need to be charging for all of those minutes, all of them, everyone that goes out and physically manages some type of work on site. If your job requires you to be on site at some point on a job, maybe not every job, but you're out there delivering parts to some of the jobs, I need to be collecting money for your time. And so that's what we focus on. And that's why, that's how I built Sarah with the Job Time Efficiency, so that we can keep these KPIs of a 60 to 70% close rate, but charge for 100%. Even though the close rate is 60%, the actual billable time is 100%. Okay? That's very important. And you need this in real time, and you don't need it on a spreadsheet because it would take you 5 years to build a spreadsheet. I think we've had this conversation, you and I and Ken. It was a spreadsheet that you just couldn't build. By the time you got done with the spreadsheet, the information's so old, it's not worth it. And so we just built it in software, so we don't have to worry about that.
I got to tell you, and I know you're a software guy, and you're a plumbing and air conditioning guy at heart. But it's interesting as the world evolves, the industry evolves, where we're at today, even spreadsheets are antiquated.
Oh, yeah.
Like the world moves so fast, the business changes so fast, the people, customers make decisions so fast. Everything has to be real time. And, these antiquated spreadsheets where we're reviewing data and past performance, and we're looking even like, a couple days of data. Let's look at yesterday, what happened yesterday. Like I've moved to the point where, because we used to do that as part of our daily huddle, let's examine what happened yesterday. Where did we went? And it's a good exercise theoretically, right? Mm-hmm. But at some point you don't care.
Yeah, you're working on the past.
We kill, like the nature of this business. We eat what we kill every day, right now, every call, every single time, right now, one call at a time. And so you left that house, we're looking at yesterday's data. We left 7 houses yesterday without collecting anything or selling anything or taking care of a customer or whatever that might be. That's in the past. sure, we can make some efforts to try and retake some of that, but it's like, what are we doing right now today with the available data that we have right now on hand to make sure that we don't leave another house without the required result? And if you have, and so some of the technology that we have is great, but some of the technology is antiquated. If it's not real time, what is the point?
That's right.
We need to get ourselves to that way of thinking.
While you're,
it can't be such old school
that's
thinking.
right. While you're working on those 7 calls that were from the other day, you're creating 7 more because you're not working on today. Yeah. You didn't fix the problem.
Exactly.
You're looking backwards. And so real-time data is extremely important. Good point there, sir. As the industry has evolved in the last 10 years, we've gone from a repair and replace to replace at all costs. That's where the industry has changed, right? And so we would do repairs and we would replace stuff back in the, prior to 10 years ago. Private equity comes in. I'll be honest with you. I was doing it before private equity. We sold a lot of equipment and we did repairs. I mean, we stayed pretty grounded, but we were making the move towards more and more sales. And now the model is sell equipment at all costs. All right. This is a great idea, except when we have an economic downturn or something disrupts the market, our market. And now customers are reeling back. They're not really ready to spend $15,000, $20,000 on an air conditioner. They're really right now, let's just repair it so that we can make it last a little while. I can preserve my capital. And the companies that were all in on sell are having a really hard time right now. The companies that have been across, doing what's best, doing something, maybe they do need a new system, but you didn't leave there empty-handed. You made a repair and you made some money. My repairs are a 75% gross margin. I'll take a $75,000 gross margin, a 75% gross margin all day long. I'm sorry, I will, as long as my efficiency is at 80 or higher. I'll take that all day long because it's money in the bank. However, I'll take equipment sales too because it's dollars in the bank because of the dollar amount. Your margin is 50% and you get yourself to break even. It's really nice to have that 50% on a $15,000 job. So that's $7,500 that goes straight to the bottom line once you hit break even. And so a mix of these and getting your job time efficiency above 80% will make sure that you hit your break even a lot faster so that you can start reaping the benefits of keeping that entire margin, because your break even is what it costs you to do business every month, that dollar amount, whatever that line is. And once you surpass that, you get to keep all the margin. And so that's when we put stuff on sale, stuff that we were trying to sell at 60 or 65% gross margin. It's now 50 because we get to keep the 50.
Yeah.
And it's just things like that we do. You got any comments on that?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, but I'd have a caveat and maybe even say be cautious because, we've had that model for years. I remember being at, I don't know, probably won't say names, but a large national consolidator that we sold to. And, we built these spreadsheets and we had a margin calculator. We had, put it on screens everywhere throughout the office so everybody knew where we're at. And once we hit, a certain break-even point, that was the strategy that we followed. However, you had to make it very selective. You can't just allow anybody to make those decisions on your behalf. It's got to be, at the time it was like a sales manager or an ops manager that had an understanding of the math, who maybe had a bonus tied to it, et cetera, that knew when to take those deals or when to discount or when to, make concessions to continue to add margin dollars once break even was up. Because once you start once you open up that mindset to a technician, a salesperson, et cetera, that you can start discounting and, oh yeah, we can sell it for this now because we've broken even. Something psychologically in their head just goes to the point where, well, we can always sell it for that, right? Well, we could sell it for that last week. Why can't we sell it for that this week? And they don't understand the math. So I would say you have to be cautious of
Very
that.
cautious.
Because a lot of people, it depends on the level of sophistication of the person that's calling that shot. they could cost you money by getting a whole group of technicians or salespeople down this mentality of discounting.
Well, what we do is we're always focusing on this, but we really put extra effort in it. When we hit our break even, we call every job we didn't get and offer this discount.
Yep.
And you'll be surprised, even if you got 20% of those, it's okay. But a lot of people bite on that. We go back and look at everything that we didn't sell earlier and try to get them in that program where, we're just trying to get some across the threshold. Whereas we allow the guys out in the field to continue to sell at the price. We don't send out a bulletin and go, okay, you can now sell at a 50 margin. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We still allow them to sell at the regular price. We control discounting. And while we're on this subject real quick, let's talk about this for a second. The biggest mistake I see when I look at financials for companies that are struggling, losing money, large amounts of money, is they allow their employees to do the discounting out in the field. And that's really the biggest culprit of profit loss, is because once you allow them to do that, they're always going to do it, and you're never going to hit your margin. You're just going to be in a constant battle of no cash flow. And if you can stop that, if there's any nugget from the show at all, just stop allowing your employees to give discounts to sell stuff. You got to hit your margins, and you got to stay on those margins. And then you control the discounting when it's appropriate. But don't start the month off giving discounts. Sell at your price. The price that you're trying to sell at is what you need to sell at. So let's do it.
And better yet, if you're running into this need to discount and you're not closing is what you think, instead of just defaulting directly to discount to make it happen, maybe you should probably first examine your service call protocol, your sales protocol. Do you have a call by call setup? Like, well, what's happening in the field that's leading to this? It's not just some random customer mentality, which, your early point was, hey, a lot of these heavy hitter, all sales organizations have suffered. I don't know that they've suffered because they're all sales organizations and don't have that secondary part. I think that they've suffered because, or even a lot of these private equity groups that have seen, a decline for the first time. I think part of that is they don't come from the space. They don't know that you have to, when the market conditions change, when the economy changes, when the customers change, you have to adjust your playbook.
Yep.
You have to adjust how you're running calls. You have to adjust how you're approaching the customer. You maybe have to have a second set of eyes on every customer. You maybe have to take a look and say, hey, you know what, if water heaters, air conditioners, whatever, they're being shipped, people aren't buying them the way that they were buying them anymore. Maybe we have to figure out a different way of selling them. Maybe we have to figure out a way of communicating with the customer, a different why or a different rationale.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that, we have to discount or we have to do these other things that are very low level ideas. It's, hey, customers aren't buying the same. You need to change how you're going to market. And unfortunately for most of these, big PE shops that go in, they buy, they say, here's some capital, go deploy capital, keep doing more of what you're doing, just ramp it up. That's not the right answer in this scenario.
Very good point. All right, moving on. So another topic, bullet point that I made in my post was we pay up to 1/3 of the total invoices on commissions, bonuses, spiffs, and hourly wages. And in that list of things I just said, there's no material, there's no permitting or any of that stuff. We're just talking straight up labor dollars, direct labor dollars are just gotten out of hand. And it's easy to go, well, there's not enough technicians, so I have to pay so much, or there's not, there's just not enough employees, so to keep them, I have to pay more than everyone else. Well, I agree with that. I'm always paying more than everyone else, and I was paying, double what most companies were paying 10 years ago, and now they're catching up. But and as we continue to go up, but we build a plan that works for the employees and the company. And better put my hand down. It's giving me the thumbs up here. So what we do is we end up in a business where the guys out in the field are making more money than the owners, individually they're making more money than the owners. And I applaud or support high wages if they're profitable, right? If it's the right guy, they earn it, blah, blah, blah. But I don't applaud where the lowest paid person in the company is the owner of the company, for whatever reason. I just don't understand that. But I see that every day. Every single day I'm seeing this. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And folks, my rule of thumb on what an owner should be paid, because I get asked this a lot, to be honest, is about $80,000 per million of revenue is what the owner, in my opinion, should be receiving. It's about 8% of the overall revenue. And so if you've got a $5 million business, you should be making yourself $400,000 and as a business owner. And if you're not, you need to be going through these bullet points that we're going through right now so that would happen. And if you're running a really good shop at $5 million, there's no reason why you can't maybe make double that. There's no reason why you couldn't. And I know these numbers are astronomical while you're paying your technicians well into the six figures, 100 plus. That's definitely what needs to be happening. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just, earlier today talking to a couple that happened to be here in Southern California as well. And I don't know, it's just a Southern California anomaly, but I've seen it for years. And I see a lot of these younger guys that are going into business, and they're the new age guru types. And what they'll do is they'll start generating some revenue, and then they'll take that revenue and they'll think, okay, the way, like they only know that old school sell model. And so they take that, they think that their salvation is going to be contingent upon, can I find the next guy that knows how to sell stuff? Can I recruit somebody that's a high performing salesperson somewhere else? Can I pay him a little bit more? Can I, who can I find that's doing this over here, and just throw some cash at them until I run out of cash or I run out of leads? And most of those businesses, in that environment can blow up relatively quickly, but then eventually they actually blow up, right? So, if you haven't planned strategically to make profit along the way, and you're just, throwing money out the door by, greasing the palms of some of these people that know how to sell things to old ladies, and that's how you're going to build your business, it's probably going to not end well for you. It may be a short-term way to collect some cash, but it's just not, you're not growing a business. It's a house of cards.
Yep. Good point, sir. Tell you what, you're on it today. What's going on?
There you go. Well, Billy, I like debating with you. I like debating with you, and sometimes you can bring up good points, and just, you're free to bring up, to contradict me. Just know that when you do that, you're wrong.
Well,
sorry, too many energy drinks today.
That's what I'm like. Something's going on. This guy is on point today. Where's the lethargic Landon I'm used to? All right. So now we pay 6 figures per year for our manager, which you should be, right? And they're spending most of their time. Here's the problem I have with the way we run managers now. We grow a business and we get to the point where it's time to have a manager involved. And our leadership style must change, because we were only managing ourselves before and then the people that work there. But now you've got to manage someone that's going to manage the people. That's a big change. That's a hard change. And so it has to be done delicately. You have to hire really well in this position. But you need to hire well, but you need to fire fast if it isn't working out. I mean, fast as you can. I mean, that's a whole nother show about, getting rid of people. I think in this industry, we hang on way too long with the folks that don't contribute. For sure. And I'm telling you, you've got to get that mindset to release, to fire quickly. That is the secret. I mean, I don't like it any more than anyone else would, but my managers know, and they know that if they don't do their job, they're out and they know that if someone's not doing their job, they're out. And what is it not doing their job? I mean, it's not like the guy doesn't know how to do plumbing or HVAC. That's not what I'm talking about. He's causing trouble. He's a negative Nelly, whatever. Let's not bring down the overall temperature of the room because we got a bad egg, if you will. So I got a little off track, but it's important that you understand that if you do move to the point where you're needing a manager, do a great job of hiring that person, vet the heck out of them before you pull the trigger. And if you do make a mistake, don't let your ego get in the way. Okay. Making mistakes are great as long as you learn from them. That's the best tool. That's the best way to learn to run a business is your screw ups. But the worst way to run a business is to screw up and do nothing about it. Right.
Yeah. Which, here's the caution flag there, right? If you've gotten to this point where you're hiring a, service manager, ops manager, some sort of manager, and you're hiring outside, and you're doing it based on the fact that this person held some sort of similar position or whatever position at another prestigious company somewhere else, and that's part of your basis for hiring them. I think that's a terrible idea. And here's why. I've been in this business long enough. I can count on, less than one hand how many organizations that I can say go out there and recruit people with the requisite management skills and experience that know how to. It's a skill set. You have to know how to manage people, right? And most of them don't go hire outside the industry and hire these trained people and mold them and grow them and then let them get recruited away. Most of them don't have in-house training for people that are, high-level communicators or technicians that are showing a penchant towards management. They don't have the means or knowledge to train them how to be managers, right? So why are we hiring people that worked at whatever organization before there was a big organization as a manager? It's the odds of them having to have learned the actual management skill set that you need to effectively manage people are very low.
Very low. I'm going to let y'all in on a little secret. I don't know the first thing about air conditioning, how to work on it. Nothing. I don't have a license, never had a license. I don't care. And so what you're saying is proof that you don't have to know about the industry to be good at managing. Right. If I was good at fixing air conditioners, I wouldn't be where I am today. What I'm good at is leading folks and helping folks improve themselves, their lives, their work ethic, all these things. And that's what you need to hire. You need to hire people that can work, be a leader and get things done. They don't have to know plumbing or air conditioning. They just need to know how to lead and do what you're wanting them to get done. And they'll come in already knowing a lot of what they need to do. And so you have to hire outside of the industry. You can't take a guy out of the field and turn him into a manager. The odds of that succeeding are very, very low.
Yeah.
All right. And you lost an employee out in the field that was bringing in, and we always promote the guy making the most money, right?
Yeah. It's always the worst decision.
It's so bad.
I got to hand it to you. You almost underplayed yourself there in terms of your technical skill set. Yeah, I heard it was so bad that like the air conditioners got together and now you're on a list and you can't go within 500 yards of one. But
it's exactly, and I especially in the school zone.
You're supposed to replace the old ones, Billy.
Yeah, here you go. Oh man, I don't know what you got in that energy drink. Hold that up for our audience to see. So.
Rockstar.
Tim, when he holds that Rockstar up, would you put a disclaimer up? Yeah. Okay. My man and his energy drinks. I've never had an energy drink. I've taken a sip of one. And I'm like, how do you drink this stuff?
You are better off for it. You are absolutely better off for it. I drink so much of this stuff that it's like formaldehyde. So when I die, my organs are going to be like perfectly preserved.
You're going to get top dollar for yourself. Everything's going to be ready to go. It's funny that I talked to you about not ever really drinking those. I had a couple of sips, but I invested in them. I was one of the early guys very early. with this. It was called Shark Energy Drinks, and they were from overseas, and I this is what we think happened. The Red Bull people killed that guy.
Oh, wow.
Because he was literally had a better product. It was really going well. I don't know what happened, but that guy all of a sudden he was gone, and the company died. And so then after that, I got involved with Buku Energy, and their game plan was they had really big cans when Red Bull was just in a small can. This is before we had everybody in the game, and so yeah, I mean I have a background in that stuff, but I learned about it and what's in it, and so I'm like I'm not drinking that stuff. And I even made the joke that maybe we should invest in kidneys now that everybody's drinking energy drinks. So.
I feel like it's got to be like Pfizer that's invested in these things.
Yeah. All right, back to something productive here. Let's see. So we pay someone or yourself to process all the hourly pay bonuses, spiffs, and commissions. And when that is the biggest time suck I've ever seen in a business, majority of department, when we're talking about these highfalutin managers we're trying to get you to hire, and then you put 40% of their work on them as figuring out payroll, you just wasted a lot of money. You've wasted money on that talent that you just hired or have in place. You wasted money on a pay system that makes everyone confused, because if he's going to spend 40% of his time figuring it out, what do you think the techs are doing? They're trying to figure it out too, because they don't want to get, they don't want a mistake to happen. They want to get paid everything they're owed. And now, just by default, we have a relationship problem. I don't trust you. Even though you're busting your tail to figure this all out and spending 40% of your week doing this, there's still a trust issue. So you want to fix culture? Simplify your pay system. Reach out to me. I can help you with that. I've got a pay system that really works. It's very simple. Been using it for almost 20 years now. Well, I have 2003 when I started. Techs love it. Business owners love it. It's super simple. Payroll takes no time at all. All right, we'll move on for that one. And I don't want to get you involved in that. You just took a sip of that energy drink.
You just check.
All right, here we go. I'm going to, make sure you don't get out of control on every one of these here. All right, here we go. Next one. All right. We overpay for materials because there's not enough cash flow to pay faster. I mean, what a concept. What if you went to this is what I did. I did this like 20-something years ago. I went to my to my suppliers, my main supplier. And back then, we didn't have floor planning. That wasn't really a thing yet. What came out first is they would put some guy in a cage in your office and watch everything. That was the first way they used to do it. And then over the years, they decided, that sure is a lot of labor for someone to sit inside a cage that I'm paying for this material. Why don't I just do a better job of managing this material and let it sit in another office or another shop? And so the way I got them to think about this, to allow them to give me $100,000 worth of equipment for free and pay for it as I go, was I'm like, what business are you in? And they go, well, I'm in the inventory business. I go, you are. And so what is your what is your most important commodity? Well, I need warehousing so I could build a bigger business. I always need more warehousing. I said, well, have you ever thought of using my warehousing for free? I won't charge you a single dollar for my 13,000, 15,000 square feet. You get it for free. It doesn't cost you a dime. All you got to do is just fill it up with equipment and then come count it every week. And then every week when you count it, I'll pay you. You come count it on Friday, I'll pay you on Monday. You come count it on Monday, I'll pay you on Tuesday. Well, you pick the day that's convenient for you. And that was how I got them comfortable with floor planning for our company, but way back then. And once they got comfortable with it, then we got back to paying, on the 10th, net 10th terms. But I had to go a little bit way out of my comfort zone and say, look, I'll just pay you weekly. You need cash, right? You love cash. They go, yeah, the faster we get paid, the better. I said, great. I want a reasonable price, but I want service. I want my equipment here at all times. I want to be able to know what I have so I know what to sell. And that's another thing. don't sell stuff you don't have. Get a floor plan going, but you got to pay on time. And if you don't have something, don't sell that. Don't even show that to the customer. Sell what's in your warehouse so you can do it now. It's all about doing it now. And
Well, what do you think about this? On top of that, should you limit your SKUs? Because at some point, it's like, how many SKUs do you need? And then people, I talk to people about truck stock lists and this, and I'm like, can we just sell like 5 things and just keep, whatever size of those 5 things? That would be great.
When we started Billy Go, we wanted to do everything from scratch. I didn't want to build the same big company like I did before. I wanted to question everything. And we literally would go and weigh the trucks when they were empty, brand new, empty, with shelves. We put all the shelving in that was going to be there, everything except for the part supplies and all the stuff that go inside the truck or the van. And we would weigh it. And then we built our inventory off of, the data we learned over time. These guys sell this stuff. This is what we need. But the most important factor to us was weight. We wanted to keep it as light as possible. How light could we keep our trucks and still function? At what point do we have just enough to where we're not making extra trips for something? And weight became the goal. And so I set a goal. I said, all right, in a plumbing truck, the capacity of this plumbing truck is, I don't remember the exact number, let's call it 2,000 pounds, 1 ton. How do we keep it under half a ton? Because if I don't have that extra 1,000 pounds in there, my tires are going to last longer, my engine's going to last longer, my brakes are going to last longer. And then we set a goal. And I don't remember exactly what it was. This has been 5 or 6 years now. But whatever that goal was, we would go and measure. We would put that perfect inventory together that we thought was the right inventory, and then we would go measure it. And if it was heavy, past our goal, whatever we set, we went back in and redefined it or figured out a way. And so we were trying to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. No one's ever thought about the weight. So why would you just continue to overstock these trucks and put all this weight on them? Because now I'm going to get an extra year of life out of this vehicle, all due to just dead weight. So it's another thing to think about. It's just as important. And so getting your inventory right is very, very important. But it's 2024, folks. If you have inventory on the books, you're doing it wrong. However, if you have inventory on the books, you're probably not approved to have no inventory from the manufacturer or the supplier, because if you're not paying on time, they're not going to do it for you. So let's buckle up our bootstraps and let's pay our vendors on time. I love my vendors. In fact, there was a guy here today. Our rep from Ferguson was here today. His name's Steve. I go down there every time. I know when he's coming. I go down there and talk to him for a half an hour every time he comes in. Because I just like talking. I want to know my vendors. And when my guys need something, I'm not calling Steve. I'll never call Steve for anything. But because I take 30 minutes of my time and one of my people call, and we're in a situation where we need something and we need it now, Steve's going to get it for us. And so that's the relationships you need to build. That's very important. It's all about time, folks. You may have heard me say that. Oh, it's right behind me. It's about time.
There you go.
The cost of running the business is time. It's not the material. All right. We pay for price books and managing of it. And not only that, most price books that we're paying for are built on a national average of pricing. Well, we may all be running HVAC, plumbing, electrical companies, but I can guarantee you one thing. None of them are the same. What we do may be similar, but you can't have a national price for your business and think that it's going to work for you. You have to price for your company. If you have slower techs than most people, you need to adjust for that. If you're in a market that demands low, entry barrier to entry products, cheaper products, stuff like that, you need to be able to price it properly so you can sell more of it. I think we waste a lot of money there. I hate to say this, to all the price book people out there, but those days are over. You need to be able to change prices and know what you need to change it to in milliseconds.
And I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
let's get real. In most of these, I've had every kind of price book and manipulated price books, and it's based on whatever hourly rate and task time and all this. It's like, are you ever anywhere close to accurate on task time and this and that? And in historic, price books, you're just not. And so, you never know when you got a SKU out there that's not making you the money that it should be making you. And then all of a sudden you're surprised at the end of the month with the financials. It's like, and then when you're setting it up, it's like it's a tedious. I've spent, setting a plumbing price book up. I had a plumbing manager who's like a plumbing guru, going line item by line item, all the plumbing stuff that we did and tasks that we could do, and just populating a price book. And it took, I'm telling you, 15 hours of time just going through it like that. It's just what a waste.
What a waste of time. All right. So it's very important we get our pricing done and we stay on top of it. If you have a price book that you can't do it in, an entire department in 30 minutes, you need a new book. All right. I just happen to have that book. So, all right. We pay to get reviews. Is that a spiff? Well, yeah. We spiff our guys to get reviews. We spiff people in the office to get us the reviews. They're very important, but it adds to the cost of that job as well. If you make it really simple for a customer to give you a review, you would never have to pay a single spiff. That's one of the things that really you got to focus on, getting rid of the barrier so that they would take care of it for you. You want those customers to give you those 5-star reviews, and every customer will tell you, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do that," and then you leave and they don't have it. You have to make it very simple, and most cases you need to get it while you're standing there in front of them. But you need a process that's not threatening and very easier with a low barrier of entry. You got anything to add to that, sir? I mean,
Well, I
Landon.
think that sometimes technicians and people think it's different. Sometimes they have this tendency to think, well, if I don't charge very much, if I'm not going to sell this person much, or you're not going to get them involved in whatever I was going to, the high end options, and we leave with a low ticket or no money, but you get a review, they think that's a win, right?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it's almost inevitable. Like, you think somebody that couldn't buy from you is going to give you a valuable review for you online somewhere. It's always the people that spent $12,000 and you solved their problem and you became their best friend, and they're really it's the ones that buy from you that leave you the reviews that are valuable.
That's right. The guy you didn't charge anything, didn't get $1 from, he's giving you the 1-star review. You didn't do anything at all, and he's the one going to leave you the 1-star review, right? And so how do you manage that? I mean, what can you do? You didn't even charge the guy a dime.
Yeah. Start with customer service.
There you go, baby. All right. We pay for gurus. Hey, didn't we do a show on gurus one time?
I don't know. What is this guru thing?
Well,
enlighten me.
Well, I don't know as much about it as you. It's something that you're passionate about. I do know that. Yeah, I see him from time to time. Yeah, so we pay for gurus. In fact, I had this conversation with a customer right before you jumped on so we could do this show. And, they're paying an extraordinary, large amount of money for a guru, and they've had this guru for quite a while. And they asked my advice on it, and I'm like, I don't think you should be paying anything at all. I mean, look at your numbers. That $25,000 a year would really do well for your bottom line. And so they agreed that they needed to move on, and they jumped into my 90-day course, because I don't do the 1 year, 2 year thing. I do 90 days, and if you don't get it in 90 days, then I don't know how to help you. I'll do checkups on you after that, but if you just do the work, you know all about that. It's all about getting stuff put together and making it work for people. And, I get them enough information to where they can understand what they need to do. And once they understand, it's very easy to run a business. Really the biggest problem that I run into, do you agree with this one here? I think we do so much self-damage to our businesses that is really what I have to unwind. Is that what you see a lot when you're doing that?
Yeah.
You're unwinding I don't even know what to call it. I mean, the burden that's been created, trying to get rid of burden.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
it's a three
excess.
it's a 3X deal,
Like,
right?
oh, we're growing. We need this. We're going to add this position over here. We're going to make this person do this. It's constant.
Yeah.
It's like just flying off the hinge constantly. I think.
Have you
is what it
noticed that
costs.
the more people that they have, the more different jobs each of those people have, they just keep creating work.
and the less that anybody knows what they actually do, it's crazy.
I mean, I've been, there's a really large company here in our town, and I've been working with them. They're helping them out here and there, nothing big, but they spend their entire time, look with spreadsheets from the day before, and about 10 managers are working on the same spreadsheet, but they're all supposed to turn it in, and they're just barely slightly different. And the information on there, no one knows what to do with. And so these are the things that I help unravel. You know what I mean? It's like, why don't we just take a break and not do that today and see what happens when we actually focus on the business at hand today?
Instead of so there's all of this information out there. We live in a society of information overload, and there's if you followed any news and anything on social, you know that there's a lot of misinformation, right? Intentional misinformation that just people put out there for their own selfish purposes, right? So whether any purchase, anything that you spend money on in business, whether it's an employee, whether it's a marketing piece, branding, software system, guru training, whatever that is, if you come at it from a perspective of, I have something to achieve, I have a goal to achieve, and the money that I spend in achieving that goal has to have a specific measurable ROI. So you can hire the guru, but if the guru costs 10 grand and my specific thing that I want out of it is documented, and that should lead to an extra $100,000, and that's a worthwhile investment, by all means do it and hold that person accountable and track it. The problem that most people get into is they don't do any of that. Right. And the guru thing, the training thing, is like, it's so nebulous. It's not specific. It's look what I did, look what I can do. And it's like, if you're not talking to these people with a specific, measurable, actionable goal that you can hold, and they're not holding you accountable to achieving that goal every day, providing you with the tools to do that, measuring it, and showing you, like, if you want to get motivated, go to Tony Robbins, right? If you want to need a therapist, go hire a therapist, right? Don't go hire a guru, trainer, whoever, based on just some advertising that you're seeing somewhere because you think it might be a good idea. It's like, don't spend money on this latest, greatest technology unless you know exactly what your plan for that technology is going to be and what return that you expect.
Right. So, Landon, would you spend $25,000 on a guru, or would you spend $25,000 on a much better website?
I would imagine it's kind of a depending on where you're at in life question, but I would imagine if you don't have a solid website first, that would be a starting point. Right? I see
that a lot.
ROI too.
I see that a lot. I see one-pagers, very terrible websites, and they're paying a fortune for gurus, but no one is fixing that. Shouldn't a guru be like looking at every aspect of the business and trying to solve problems at every aspect? That's how I coach. I mean, it's not just a prescribed way of coaching. It's like, something over here is not right. If you're not getting calls, let's go find out why. It's like this one guy I was helping, and he was paying 38% for his materials and his COGS. And when he questioning his guru, the guru told him that, well, with COVID and inflation, it's just the price we have to pay now. No investigation. How do I fix it? What's the problem, right? And so took the guy from 38% down to 18% and half in 90 days. Because I know how to solve the problem. And I got another question. How long should you stay with a coach? How long do you think you should stay with a coach? That's something. Our best practices.
It goes back to my initial statement. It was like, what's the specific objective that you're trying to accomplish? Put a time frame on it, make it specific, measurable, actionable, and then put an ROI. If that coach, if that is continuing to bring you, if that program or organization or whatever it is continuing to bring you an acceptable ROI, then by all means. But you have to be objective, and you have to have a way of measuring it. And
you got to measure it.
Like for example, like a best practice group that hasn't changed in 15 years and has told you, here's the model, and now you're doing this, and you're not achieving the profit metrics of your peers. It's like, well, maybe that I'm being led down the wrong path, and there's a better way.
Yeah, I think that's very good, solid points that you're making there. You did a good job, even on your energy drink, not getting too animated with that. Good job there, buddy. All right.
Taper it down a little bit.
I think he's maturing, folks. He's aging a little bit, slowing down maybe, even with the energy drink in him. All right. Hey, shiny objects. That's the last one on my list today. I know we've gone long today, so for all of you out there still hanging with us, I appreciate it. We spend a lot of money on shiny objects. That's one of the first things I look for when I look at financial statements. You should be questioning everything right now. You should be looking at your phone bill. There's ways to cut costs in your phone bill. You just got to take the time to do all that. That's just one example of things that a phone bill is not a shiny object, but it's something that you can actually lower your costs if you really pay attention to it. And it gets you in the practice of getting rid of all the shiny objects. I mean, think about it like this. Here's a great example of a shiny object. All right, so you have Apple TV or Roku or whatever it is you have. And then you pay for Disney. Then you pay for HBO. Then you pay for, I don't know what else out there, other stuff, Hulu. You pay for all these different ones. What if you treated that like a business? What's your ROI? I mean, like, how many times do you actually watch Hulu? Maybe that's the one you watch the most, so that's the one you should pay for. But you keep all the others because we're lazy, right? It just comes down to being lazy.
Yeah.
And that goes back to my favorite quote: "The magic you're looking for is in the work you're not willing to do." And so my point here with shiny object is you need to take every single thing that's shiny and you need to turn it upside down and look at it and decide whether or not it should stay. Because the amount of money that has been eaten up by shiny objects that are sitting in your business that you're not getting a return on investment is a massive amount of money.
Well, let's get specific. I mean, there's no BS, right? There's a lot of shiny objects out there, and I think it just comes down to, did you set realistic expectations for what you're going to do with the shiny object, or are you counting on it to do the work for you? There's no shortcuts, right? It's just said, like, is this shiny object that you spent $20,000 on? Are you actually getting what you thought you'd get out of it, or did you think that it was going to solve your problem for you? Because shiny objects don't solve problems. Shiny objects are probably those things that are like nice to have little tweaks once you hit, once you reach a pretty steady, stable state of business where you make a lot of money. So having a nice shiny object to, having a help desk that we've added, or having, these are fun ideas and things that are not core or essential to you, going out and winning that next call.
Good job. Shiny objects rob cash flow, period. Dig in, find them, get rid of them, know what they're doing for you. You must do this. I guarantee, I bet it's 10%. What do you think? 10% of revenue.
Oh, it's probably, but what's your favorite shiny object?
Well, that's the point. I don't like them, so there's not a favorite.
What's the favorite one that you see people?
Oh, that I see people? You're just trying to get me in a trap. You know exactly the answer, but
shiny object. This message is brought to you by Rillo.
Oh my gosh. We bleep stuff like that. Take another sip. I want to see what comes out of your mouth next. All right, let's get off of this thing. I think we're probably the only ones laughing here. Everybody else is like, I'm done with these fools. Thank you so much for listening today. Hopefully you found a nugget. That's what we're here about. No BS. Create nuggets for you guys. And Landon, what do you always tell them at the end of this show?
Here's I'm going to change it up today. Go out there and win today. If you were listening to this in the morning, you got the ability to change everything about your business today, one call at a time today. But until then, like and subscribe.
Thank you, everybody. Great job today, Landon.
No BS with Billy and Landon is produced and delivered to you by Sarah Systems. At Sarah Systems, we've created a better way to run your home service business and unlock unprecedented growth. Our field service software was designed by real home service professionals to help you save steps, charge for previously unbillable time, and win more business. But the true change requires more than software. Our live coaching helps you understand and control the aspects of your business that matter most. It's about time for a new era of service, and we're leading the way. If you're ready to join the hundreds of other contractors who've been able to increase profit margins more than 50% within 6 months, visit Sarah.tech today. That's Sarah, SERA.tech today.